I'm going to be talking a lot about a lot of different aspects of people's businesses, and so it was actually good for me to get a grip on where everyone here is at, because a lot of people come to Viral Launch for private labels specifically. However, wholesalers use us a lot as well as arbitrage, online retail. So everything that I say today is not necessarily going to be just for private label people. It's going to apply to everything. I want to encourage you, no matter what I say, even if it is more private label centric or oriented, you can still take it and apply it to wholesale or arbitrage. In fact, if you have any questions on how it applies to you, come talk to me. We have a booth over here. Robbie's over there right now. And we would love to talk with you. But, okay, first off, here's what I need everyone to do. I need everyone to raise your hands. Like every single person. Okay, thank you for volunteering. Oh, now everyone's like, oh man, this guy's coming down into the crowd. Don't make eye contact. Okay. Why are you here? Why are you here today?
To learn more.
More. To do what? What are you looking for? Like, not just what are you looking for to learn, but what's your end goal? Someone just said make money.
I guess to make money and expand my business and live my best life.
Live your best life. Live your best life. Why are you here?
Switching from RA and OA over to wholesale and private label. I'm at the launch point, so.
Launch point. What's the end goal? What do you want?
Be richer than Bezos.
Richer than Bezos. I like it. Lofty goals. Why are you here?
Bottom line, to make money.
To make money. So it's very interesting. Viral Launch, I travel a lot and I go to a lot of conferences and I see a lot of different sellers, and I get to talk to a lot of different sellers. And every seller, no matter if you're doing wholesale, private label, or arbitrage, every seller has a story, right? And the stories in this space are just incredible to hear, incredible for me to hear. And everyone has their own goal with why they're here, why they do what they do. Oftentimes it boils down to typically financial freedom, right? The freedom to do something that you aren't doing right now or that you want to do. And it's very interesting. Again, I get the opportunity to see all these people's stories and hear all these people's reasons for being here and for selling on Amazon. And the goal of financial freedom is an incredible one. And it's something that Amazon has given us the opportunity to do, right? And there's a relationship there. So the last talk kind of gave insight into Amazon a little bit. But as you're here, as you're thinking, I would really encourage you to ask yourself what your end goal is. Like money, it's okay to have money as your end goal. Financial freedom, whatever you're looking for, I'd encourage you to ask yourself, because everyone shares kind of that one thing. Okay, so Amazon, is there opportunity on Amazon? We all know the answer to this question. Maybe we all don't actually, but I want to tell you about two people. They're actually really good friends of mine. Their names are Jesse and Kayla. Okay, and they're actual people. I'm not making these people up. They actually exist. Jesse and Kayla were and still are recent college graduates. Okay, and they had almost no money. They just graduated college, just compounding debt. If you went to college, you understand. When you graduate college, you just have a lot of chains holding you down financially, right? So they had almost no money. However, their goal, just like most Amazon sellers, was financial freedom. That's crazy, right? You graduate college, you have thousands and thousands of dollars in debts, but their goal still was to be financially free, okay? So what did they do? They started an Amazon business, okay? Recent college graduates, a ton of debt, the goal of financial freedom. They started an Amazon business with everything against them. And when they started that Amazon business, there's a lot that happened, of course, from A to Z. But they were profitable within the very first month, okay? They started one single product. Jesse and Kayla started one single product after graduating college. And they were profitable within the first month. After a couple months, they were making $20K a month with a single product, okay? Picture when you graduated college. If you just graduated college and you're making $20K a month, of course split between two people, that's pretty good, right? Why did they do it? Or how did they do it? They did it from, there are a lot of different reasons, but a lot of it boiled down to choosing the right product, picking the right product to sell at the right time. Okay, they used. I know them very well. They're very close friends of mine. They used data to pick the right product to sell at the right time, and they were profitable in their first month, making $20K a month, and they're scaling now. However, all that to say, a lot of people have that same goal, share the same goal of financial freedom, and they're working towards that. They're not financially free yet. They still have debt, but by picking the right product, they were able to establish themselves in Amazon, making profit like crazy, okay? So there is opportunity on Amazon still. There's opportunity for passive income, for financial freedom. Whatever your goal is, Amazon seems to be an answer to a lot of those goals, a lot of those questions that people have, okay? And so what I'm going to be talking about today, honestly, is a lot of what Jesse and Kayla learned. But it's not just Jesse and Kayla. Jesse and Kayla are representative of all of you, okay? You are Jesse and Kayla. You are Jesse, you are Kayla. You are one of them, you're both of them. And you can achieve exactly what they achieved. They were two college graduates with a ton of debt. If you didn't graduate college, or if you graduated college and you're far out of college, you have a lot of life experience, you're already ahead of where they were. If you don't have a ton of debt, compounding hundreds of thousands of dollars in college debt, you're already ahead of where they were. If they can do it, you can do it too, okay? Okay, so just to kind of talk about Viral Launch a little bit, just to qualify who we are. We've worked with over 8,000 brands. We've launched over 30,000 products on Amazon. Our biggest client, again, we've worked with a lot of clients, but our biggest clients, we helped drive to $100 million in sales on Amazon alone. Okay, that was our biggest client, and we are continually tracking, honestly, millions of products just to extrapolate data from, okay? So this is just simply the frame of reference that I'm talking to you from today. And that my goal is to get all of what we're learning and have learned into your minds today, okay? So first general piece of advice. If you've listened to our stuff, we have a podcast. If you listen to our podcast, it's Casey and I. We've talked about the silver bullet before. The silver bullet is this mentality, this concept that there is one answer to one quick fix to all of the problems that you are experiencing. However, it's really easy coming to a conference for sellers to look for that silver bullet, for sellers to find that quick fix or that quick hack that is going to instantly solve all of their problems. And I'm sure you've experienced that before, or have experienced someone telling you that there is a silver bullet. And maybe there are some small quick fixes or quick hacks. However, we've seen people try to establish businesses on the silver bullet mentality. It doesn't work. Okay? Establishing your business on a solid arsenal is one of the most important things. So what does that solid arsenal look like? Well, really, it's actually very simple. It's all these things that are up on the bottom of the screen right now. So it's finding, all the way on the left-hand side, it's finding a product that is in demand. Again, it all stems back to the product that you choose to sell, the product that you pick to sell on Amazon, or products. Having competitive reviews, having a competitive price, ranking that product. And then, honestly, two things that a lot of people overlook are sales-inducing copy and sales-inducing photos. When it comes to selling on Amazon, this is the solid arsenal, okay? This is the only other slide that I have today. Just kidding. This is not my last slide. But this is one of the most basic but important things for sellers to walk away with, is the fact that it doesn't take a silver bullet. It just takes a solid arsenal of these basics to do well, okay? Next thing that I've seen work extremely well with sellers that have scaled to that big client scaled to 100 million, that we helped get to 100 million. That's one story, but that's one of many sellers that have been able to scale to that point. Identifying the 80-20 is essential. If you don't know what the Pareto principle is, you should look it up. If you don't know what the 80-20 principle, the 80-20 rule is, you should look it up. Basically, though, when it comes to Amazon, outsource what you can, okay? Outsource what you can, build a solid team, and remove yourself as the bottleneck. You'd be surprised how many times I'm talking with Amazon sellers, and they come to me and they're like, I'm having trouble scaling my business. What should I do? And a lot of the time, even though they don't see it, it's them being a bottleneck in their business and preventing them from scaling as quick as possible. Let me give you a quick example. A guy came up to me think it was in Canada. I was at a conference in Canada. He's like, oh no, it was at a conference before that. Whatever. He was at a conference, and he's like, Cam, this is my issue. He told me about his business. He told me he couldn't scale. I was like, okay, where's the holdup? Like, what's backing everything up? And he described his operation to me. Okay, so he did private label, but he would ship everything to his house, and he would do merchant fulfilled prime. Okay, not a problem, but it was him and his mom who were packaging everything and shipping it out. Okay, if his goal is to scale his business, he should not be packaging everything himself, shipping it out himself, because if you do that now, you know it takes a lot of time, right? His goal should be to put himself in a position to scale his business, be the visionary behind what is going to take his business to the next level. If he's spending all of his time simply packaging products, he's not going to be able to find those 5 more products that are going to 10x his business, right? He was the bottleneck, and his sweet mom was helping him, which was great. But he needed to take himself out of that situation. He needed to hire someone else in order for him to be able to contribute towards scaling his business, because he knew the business better than anyone else in that circle did. Okay, ask yourself, where's the opportunity cost? Where's your time most valued? In that guy's case, his time was more valued finding more products to sell than actually packaging them, shipping them out, handling customer service. He did that too. The opportunity cost there for him was being at the forefront of finding new products, okay? Being a visionary. Right now on Amazon, there is a lot of opportunity for just picking products and launching them, or sourcing them, or selling more products over and over and over again. The market is in a very interesting spot right now. We have the opportunity to see a lot of different products go through our system. A lot of sellers go through our system. A lot of sellers succeed. The market is changing. Think back to what the Amazon market was. We had a decent amount of people that were like 3+ years here, I think, or 2+. Regardless, think back to what the market was like a year ago, right? The market was a lot different a year ago. And you know what? The market's going to be a lot different a year from now. So right now is the opportunity to scale your business on Amazon. Where is the opportunity? The opportunity is finding more products to sell and just putting them on Amazon and optimizing them well. But right now, the opportunity lies in sourcing more products, finding more products, and simply selling more products. So what does that process look like? Again, my goal is to simplify everything. I don't want to give you a silver bullet. The process is simple. It's find great products, use accurate data to validate those products, and launch those products, put those products on Amazon specifically over and over and over again. If you're familiar with what we talk about and what we say, then this is not going to be a new concept to you. But if you haven't heard what we talk about, this is what we see succeed. That $100 million seller, this is exactly what they did to succeed, to get to $100 million in a year. One last kind of general piece of advice is to simply be aggressive. So if you have data, if you have accurate data to back up the decisions that you're making, you have the ability to be aggressive. Oftentimes we see sellers being pretty timid. Right now, I would encourage you, remember the opportunity cost, the time of the market. The time right now, the opportunity comes in being aggressive in the market right now. Like there's room for being safe and being cautious, but I would actually encourage you, if you're a more cautious person, I would encourage you to push yourself and actually be more aggressive, because this market, this opportunity will not last forever. It won't. Who knows what will happen in 2 years? For what we know right now, Amazon is a gold mine. Just like the gold mine, gold runs out, right? I'm not saying that Amazon's going to run out. However, the opportunity for what the market is right now is closing. So I would encourage you to err on the side of being aggressive, but also to be smart about it. That's easy to say. You're like, well, how do you do that? Well, let me tell you. Okay, let's go back. So I'm talking about one of the primary things that I'm using data to talk about today is picking the right product to sell. So what does a good product look like to sell on Amazon? And that's a hard question to answer, because every person in this room is at a different spot. The resources that you have, your capacity, what you're looking for is different. Also connected, it's similar, but everyone here is capable of something different. So it's a hard question to answer. But product selection is the number one way to ensure success. Remember what we talked about being aggressive? If you're aggressive and you pick the wrong products to sell, then you will fail because they're the wrong products to sell. If you're aggressive and you pick the right products to sell, you will succeed. And you might fail along the way, but in the long run, you will succeed. So every product is a great product to sell as long as it makes sense for your goals, you and your goals. If you haven't yet, sit down, go through what your goals are, what you're capable of. That's a key part of scaling your business because you recognize what you're able to do. Too often I see sellers try to get into successful and good markets, but they don't have the capacity to do so. And they end up getting into these markets, and they end up trying to compete in something like a supplement market when they don't have the resources to buy a bunch of supplements. And they end up failing because they can't be as aggressive as they need to be. So it's also important to be realistic. So the first general piece of advice is honestly to know your budget, okay? I hope you guys can see what's on the screen right now. If you're a little further away in the back of the room, I apologize. But knowing your budget is huge, okay? So if you compare what's on the screen, you compare the left to the right. These are markets, okay? These are data sets representative of two different markets. The one on the left, what you see highlighted is the monthly sales and review quantity, okay? The monthly sales, let's say you're a seller and you're looking at these monthly sales and you're like, holy cow, you're telling me that I can make an average of 15,000 sales a month? Yeah, sign me up. But then you look at the review count and you're like, shoot, I got to compete with 2,000 to 15,000 reviews. You as a seller are going to need a high budget to compete in that market. Why? Because A, there are a lot of products being sold, so you need to compete with those products. And B, there are a lot of reviews to compete with in that market. If you compare that to the market that's on the right side. You have a lot of sales. You still a decent amount of sales, anywhere between 500 to 2,500. That market, you're still going to need money to buy the product to sell in that market. However, if you notice, the review quantity is much lower, okay? Markets that have low average review quantities are easier to compete in than markets with high average review quantities. It makes sense, but this honestly is a concept that not a lot of sellers walk away with. A lot of sellers will try to get into the market on the left, but not have a high budget. They don't have the resources to compete in that market. In their case, the market on the right is better. Okay, realistic expectations. Low sales means low sales, right? It sounds really simple, but you'd be surprised again on the amount of sellers that jump into a market expecting a high number of sales when, if you look at this market, sellers, we see this literally all the time, sellers getting into markets and then coming to us and asking yo, what in the world? I'm not making sales. When, in reality, if they would have looked at the market originally to see the number of sales that were being pushed through that market, they would have seen these numbers and would have realized, oh, this market has a low number of sales, so if I'm going into this market, I should expect to receive a low number of sales. It's important to be realistic. A market that's getting low sales in, you're not going to get a high number of sales out. The ROI ratio. This kind of goes back to the first slide a little bit, but the ROI ratio is a very quick indicator of a good market. Okay, it's basically the ratio of sales to reviews. So we talked about reviews, right? Reviews are the barrier to entry into a market. If a market has a low number of reviews and a high number of sales, that is a very good indicator of what I personally would call that a healthy market, a young market to enter into. So if you're looking for a market to get into, you want a high number of sales and a low number of reviews, right? This ratio, the ROI ratio, the higher the number of sales in relation to reviews, the higher this ROI ratio number is going to be. Again, what you're seeing right here is a market. So if you would search coffee mug on Amazon, these are the sales numbers and the review numbers that might pop up. If I want to find a market that's easy to get into, I want to find a market that has a high ROI ratio, a high average ROI ratio, because this market has a high number of sales. Good, that means I'm going to be selling a lot, and a low number of reviews. Good, that means I can get in and compete quick, right? That makes sense. If you're getting into a market with an average of 500 reviews, that's going to be really hard to compete in. But if you're getting in with an average of 50 reviews, much easier to instantly compete in. What does a good product look like? It's really important for you to understand market trends. So oftentimes we'll see people looking into, this is an extreme example, but let's say you're doing some research to find a product to sell on Amazon. And you find the candy cane market, okay? Now candy canes, let's say you're looking at the candy cane market in the middle of December. Well, obviously the candy cane market is going to be very inflated during that time. So you're a seller. You decide to get into the candy cane market in the middle of December. Your product gets into Amazon, let's say like January, middle of January, okay? And all of a sudden, compared to the numbers that you were looking at before, you sell like 2 in a month. You're like, what in the world? They were selling like 5,000 when I looked at them in December. Well, you know what? It's because it's December and people are buying candy canes, right? You'd be surprised the amount of sellers that look at products and don't perform market research in order to determine whether they are consistent throughout the year or whether they spike at very specific times. So what's important? It's important for you to look at, as you're doing product research, as you're looking into buying products, it's really important for you to know whether those markets are what we would call seasonal, consistent, or declining, something like that. It's important for you to get the entire picture of what is going to happen in the market so that you don't get caught in a situation where you're sourcing candy canes in January or even later, like April, because they're not going to do well. Price trends. So a market that has declining price is typically indicative of a market becoming more and more competitive. Ideally, the ideal case scenario, you enter into a market that is not yet competitive, right? Because you want to do well, you want to scale. If I want to sell 3 products very quickly, I'm going to try to find or try to get into non-competitive markets. Markets that have declining average price trends, typically, not all the time, but typically this indicates that there are price wars that are beginning to start. It's very interesting. With Amazon selling products, Amazon selling private label products, typically prices start to go down. Amazon, because in those markets, like Amazon's selling supplements right now, right? Amazon has the ability to, well, A, control a lot with those private label products that they are selling themselves, but B, that also means that typically, on average, the price is going to be driven downward by those Amazon products in that market. If you are looking at a market and you see the average price declining, that's kind of a red flag, because that means by the time you source a product or buy a product, even if you're private label, wholesale, arbitrage, whatever, what have you, by the time you get that product in, it could be too late. The margins are huge, and the margins might be too low for you to actually source that product. Just another piece of the puzzle to add up to find a great product. Ideally, you're going to find a market with a very consistent price trend, or at least something that's not declining very fast. It's also very important for you to be extremely honest and realistic with yourself when it comes to the margin that you're looking for, okay? I know how hard this is. I know how hard as a seller it is to you look at a market, you look at a product, and you just like want to will that product to have a good margin. You're like, I just know this product has a good margin. Like, I know it does. But you need to be like really realistic with yourself. How much is it going to cost for you to manufacture this product if you're doing private label? Or how much is it going to cost for you to buy all these products in bulk from something like wholesale, or to flip through retail online arbitrage? All the promotions you're going to drive, all the creatives you're going to do, like photos, listings, all of these numbers are going to add up very quick. And that price tag, that margin that you see or that you think of originally, is going to change drastically from when you actually get it into Amazon. After Amazon takes the fees out, it's going to add up very quick. So it's really important for you to be really realistic on the actual margin of the products that you're looking for. So probably the biggest mistake that we see sellers make when it comes to choosing a product to sell, honestly, comes from the expectation of replication. Okay, so this is a pretty big market, right? If you can see the average number of monthly sales for this product hovers around like 10 to 20,000 sales a month. Okay, however, this guy that's highlighted right there in the red, he's not making as many sales. He also has, well, basically what I want you to focus on is the review quantity. Okay, So every other seller in this market has in between like 1,000 to 8,000 reviews. We see a lot of sellers. Again, this is data that we pull from our tools, looking at sales numbers, reviews, whatever. And the review quantity of this highlighted product, if you notice, it's extremely low. It's 38 compared to an average of like 1,000. All the time, sellers can look at a market like this and think, oh, well, this guy's doing it, so obviously I can do it too. So I'm going to source whatever this market is. Let's just say coffee mugs again. So I'm going to source a coffee mug, and I'm going to be able to compete. I'm going to be able to compete in this market with 38 reviews. When what you don't know is, you don't know the external traffic that this guy's pushing to his product. You don't know if he's pulling black hat stuff. You don't know what this seller is doing to be in the spot that he is competing around other people that have, on average, 1,000 reviews. It's really important for you to be realistic when you're looking at products to sell. In this case, being realistic looks like taking the average. So if I were to look at this, a lot of sellers would tend to, it's very interesting to see, their eyes instantly shift to the guy with a low amount of reviews and say, I can compete in this market. When what you need to do is actually take a look at the average and say, okay, the average amount of reviews that I need to compete in this market is like 1,000. But the average number of sales that are also higher, okay? So you can't expect to replicate the success of a single ASIN. Instead, what you need to do is look at the average of the markets. I also really encourage, this is basic, but this goes along the idea of the concept of challenging everything that you do, okay? It's really easy for sellers, for everyone, this is just humanity, to get stuck in a pattern of doing the same thing over and over and over again. And we see that happen with product selection. We see a lot of sellers go for the same type of product over and over and over again. I would encourage you to ask yourself all the time, continuously, what does going against the status quo look like when it comes to picking products to sell? These are just 3 examples, but it looks like picking oversized products, picking a product to sell that is larger than you normally would pick, something with a higher price, or something with a very low price. Whatever. If you're doing arbitrage, if you're doing wholesale, if you're doing private label, this applies. Like, look at what everyone else is doing. If you guys know who Gary Vee is, Gary Vaynerchuk, I hope so. Gary Vee talks a lot about being different, right? I mean, he is different. Run away from what people are doing. That's normal, okay? In this case, ask yourself, what is everyone doing in private label? What is everyone doing in wholesale? What is everyone doing in arbitrage? And can I go in the opposite direction? Is there a place for me to take a risk in going and picking products that are not normal? Ask yourself those questions. But also remember at the very bottom line that profit is key, okay? Like if you run in the opposite direction and you're making like $2 a month, that's not gonna work. So be realistic, run in the opposite direction, see if there's opportunity to run in that direction. Really, in the end, a lot of this boils down to having accurate data to back up whatever you're doing, okay? Product selection and accurate data. Now, I'm gonna touch a little bit on keywords and listing optimization. Why? Because this is where the opportunity is on Amazon specifically right now, okay? If you're familiar with Gary Vee, again, Gary Vee talks a lot about underpriced attention. Where is the underpriced attention in Facebook right now? Right now, if you know what ManyChat is, that's underpriced attention, right? Right now on Amazon, keywords and listing optimization, this is underpriced attention. I'll explain. So this seller, again, a real seller, his name's Alan. He started in 2017, he had 4,000 SKUs. He was making $250,000 a month in top line revenue. And he wanted to grow more, basically. But the seller thought that the solution to his problem was just simply selling more products, okay? More SKUs. However, he didn't really understand the concept of optimizing what he already had. So we actually we got a hold of him, and he shifted his focus, and we worked with him to shift his focus from just launching more products to actually optimizing his listings from his already existing SKU list, okay? And look at these are his revenue numbers, right? From when we started optimizing his keywords, his revenue went all the way up to a little over $1 million, okay? That's huge. He incurred over 30% in monthly growth. Not because he was launching more products, no, simply because he was taking advantage of underpriced attention and it was optimizing the keywords and his listing optimizations, okay? This is the opportunity. Now, granted, I don't want you to look at this and say like, well, obviously, if I change my keywords, I will make over $1 million a month. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is that there's underpriced attention when it comes to keywords and optimizing your listings on Amazon. Okay, so this is a very specific example, but so we see a lot of sellers run into picking the wrong keywords. This is what we saw with Alan. So let's say you are comparing the keyword here, the search phrase is 32-ounce insulated water bottle, okay, compared to water bottle. 32-ounce insulated water bottle is getting about 300 searches a month. If you see, that's what the exact number is. Whereas water bottle is getting 360,000 searches a month. It's a big difference, okay? This is actually always fun for me to do. Compare these two keywords, a meal prep container and a meal prep containers. How many of you think that meal prep container has more searches? Raise your hand. Okay, couple people. How many of you think meal prep containers, plural, yes? Okay, well, usually people get it right, but usually people get wrong the major difference between these two keywords when it comes to the amount of volume, the amount of people that are searching for these keywords. Okay, so meal prep containers is the right answer, but check this out. Close to 3,000 people are searching for meal prep container in a month. Whereas you add a single S, you add a single S to that keyword, instantly that jumps up to 192,000 people searching for that keyword. This is a very drastic example, but this is to show you that there is a lot with keywords right now. You could be a seller, and you could think like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. People know what a meal prep container is. However, if you don't have the plural form of meal prep container in your title, you are missing out on 192,000 searches a month. That's a big deal. And that's what we found out with Alan. We took him to a little over $1 million in sales. It was keywords like this that were driving his success. Okay, so keywords, it's really important for you to understand that keywords are the lifeblood of sales, right? A lot of sellers right now are getting keywords wrong. And so where is the opportunity for you as a seller on Amazon? If you have control of your listing, again, wholesalers, typically have control of your listings. Private label sellers, control of your listings. For you, there is, I would say, the most opportunity for you right now is here with keywords. Okay, so the mentality, these are examples of changes in mentality in the Amazon marketplace. So some sellers might remember super URLs that turn into two-step URLs. Focus on BSR improvements. There's still sellers that focus on BSR. Instead of focusing on BSR, the mentality has shifted into focusing on keyword ranking, how you're ranking for keywords, and also the difference between sales velocity and sales history. If you want to know about that, come talk to me afterwards. But these are examples of shifts in the marketplace in general. Right now, the major shift that's happening that we are encouraging people to understand is an understanding from what's the keyword volume, from understanding and knowing a keyword volume into asking yourself, what is my keyword strategy? What is the strategy that I'm using to implement these keywords that are really important? And so here are a couple really specific but important kind of tips that we've aggregated from a lot of listing optimizations from a lot of sellers. Keyword stuffing is a really important aspect of optimizing your listings. So what does keyword stuffing mean? Basically, there's an internal struggle. I see it. There's an internal struggle with sellers on Amazon asking themselves whether they should just put a bunch of important keywords in their title or whether they should make it flow really well. From what we've seen, there's like an in-between, but we actually have seen more success from erring on the side of just like putting the most important keywords in something like your title rather than making it sound perfect, okay? So really I would encourage you to find the balance between keyword stuffing, so like finding those important keywords and stuffing them in your title, but also connecting them in a way that makes sense. That goes to point number 2, which is don't compromise on quality. So keyword stuff the most important keywords in something like your title, because your title drives the most keyword ranking for your product, but don't compromise on the quality of the listing. It's a very hard balance to find. Like, I could say this, and I could just say like, keyword stuff, but also make it sound good. It's harder to do than it sounds, right? It is difficult, but err on the side of the balance between these two. So a quick tip to do this is to find the keywords that you want to put into, I'm using your title as an example, because again, your title drives the most keyword ranking for your product. But to find those most important keywords, right? Write them all down and then connect them, okay? So keywords then copy. Copy are the words that you use to connect the most important keywords in your listing optimization, okay? So write out, find the most important keywords, write them down, and then connect them together. And your bullets and your description and your back end are really important, and they still drive keyword ranking. However, your title is the most important thing. So the most important keywords are going to be in your title. Another very specific example, we already touched on this a little bit, but a lot of sellers ask whether they should include the plural and singular form of a keyword in something like their title. The answer is yes, at least to your most important keyword or keywords. Okay, so just like the meal prep container example, I mean, if you don't put the plural form of meal prep container in your title, you're missing out on 190,000 searches a month. That's huge. So yes, use both plural and singular forms. Okay. Another concept, really important concept to understand, is finding horizontal markets. So the idea of a horizontal market is basically, let's look at these two keywords right here. So this is first aid kit. Okay, let's say you're selling a first aid kit. The idea of a horizontal market is finding keywords that are related to your product, your market, but that don't contain any other keywords in that primary keyword phrase. So, okay, specifically, that sounds confusing, but first aid kit, right? First aid kit is a first aid kit. Trauma bag is another word that people use to find first aid kit. However, both of them don't contain any words that are shared, right? It's really important for you to find these horizontal markets, these horizontal keywords for you to optimize your listings with, because people are going to be using the keyword trauma bag to find first aid kits and vice versa, searching first aid kit to find trauma bags. It's really important for you to find these horizontal market keywords so that you're not missing out on any volume opportunities. High opportunity keywords. Basically, these are keywords that have a lot of people searching, a lot of people using these terms to search with and for, but that not a lot of other sellers are using themselves. Okay, so one example of this would be like if you search using trash can, and trash cans is a high opportunity keyword. This is, again, data aggregated from what we do from our services, but if you'll notice the keyword trash can, you might not be able to see it, but the third metric there involves like 10,000 searches a month. Just like the meal prep container example, by using trash can and trash cans, you're able to aggregate all of those searches. This is one more specific example to get across high opportunity keywords, but basically Garcinia cambogia is a supplement, okay? Now Garcinia cambogia is pulling in a decent amount of searches in a month. However, if you come at optimizing your listing from the mentality of wanting to find keywords that other people are not using, let's look at these keywords here. These are examples. So let's say you're optimizing your listing and you're selling Garcinia cambogia. You find these 4 extra keywords. You find luxury Garcinia cambogia. These are keywords that people are actually using to find Garcinia cambogia, okay? They almost make no sense. Cambodia, Garcinia, okay? Cambodia, that's not Garcinia cambogia, but it's what people are actually using to search for this product. People are actually searching for reviews on Garcinia cambogia in Amazon. And then Garcinia, okay, you get the point. Basically, so all of these 4 keywords, you have Garcinia cambogia, which is pulling in a certain amount of searches a month. These 4 keywords, if you put these 4 keywords in your listing, you're going to get 8,000 more searches per month for that product, right? Those are high opportunity keywords, and those are keywords that people are actually using to find Garcinia cambogia. Cambodia, Garcinia, are you kidding? Like, that's crazy. You can't make this stuff up. Those are extreme examples of high opportunity keywords that you should be looking for, that you should be finding to put into your listing, because you get 8,000 more searches a month. If you can convert 50% of those searches, it's 4,000 more sales, potentially. So focus on volume, focus on relevance, focus on competition. Look for those horizontal markets Really, opportunity lies in strategic keyword insertion, strategic keyword research. Okay, right now in the Amazon space, strategic keywords, strategic keyword research, and placement is underpriced attention. It's not going to be underpriced forever, right? The more that sellers find these undervalued keywords, the less valuable they're going to be. So it's really important for you to jump on the keyword train as early as you can. It's just like bidding, right? PPC. The more people bid on keywords, the more people find these keywords, the higher the price is going to be to bid on them, to rank for them. This is underpriced attention right now. It's really important to pay attention to. So you as an Amazon seller, product selection is huge. Using accurate data to back up what you're finding is huge. And then optimizing your listings is huge. And that applies to both keywords and photos as well. Really, if you are taking a data-driven approach, I want to encourage you to challenge every single decision that you make. And I also want to encourage you to challenge everything that you hear from this conference, right? Even everything that I just said, I want you to challenge that. I'd be like, yeah, right, Cam. Yeah, right, you're wrong. Come talk to me, because I would love to talk to you. But I would encourage you to challenge everything that you're learning in this space, because really it takes you diving into the data, diving into what everyone else is telling you to do, and asking yourself, is this true? Is this true for me? Is this what I need right now? Right? These are really important questions for you to be asking. The college students that I talked to you about at the beginning, they used data, they challenged what they were hearing. They simply just used data to find a good product. It's really not that hard. They used data to find a successful product. They put that product on Amazon. They optimized it as best as they could. And they started making $20,000 a month as broke college students. I shouldn't say it's easy, but the opportunity is there. The opportunity is with you. It's here right now. And that's all that I have. Any questions on anything? It could even be just a perspective, because again, we have a lot of data at Viral Launch. We have a perspective from a lot of sellers.
I think Amazon tells us not to worry about optimizing separately for singular and plural keywords or for misspellings. Does your research indicate differently?
Yes, it does. They say to not worry about that, but yes, worry about it. We split test a lot. Indexation and ranking is not something hard to look at. If you go to Amazon and you type in the plural versus the singular for a keyword, you will see products ranking differently. So product rank is dependent on these keywords, really. I would encourage you to go to Amazon and search plural and singular forms, and you'll see.
Yeah, could you explain the difference between a super URL and a two-step URL?
Basically, it's just different processes. They're different processes to achieve kind of an end means, right? So the goal for both is to achieve keyword ranking. And I could get into the specifics of what both look like, but a two-step URL is basically designed to drive ranking for a specific keyword. So when you pass traffic through that two-step URL, you're driving keyword ranking for the keyword that's inserted into that two-step. If you Google, and it's hard to explain, it's really hard for me to explain exactly the exact differences between both without having a visual or something, but I would say look, just like Google, go on, I know Reddit has a pretty good community as well. If you Google both, do some research on both, you'll see.
Hey buddy.
What's up?
I'm gonna hit you with a tough one.
Oh man.
Alright, all the research that you do, what's more important in launching a private label product? Is it picking the right product from the beginning or launching it at the back end? Which one has more weight in actually having a successful private label product?
When you say launching it on the back end, what do you mean exactly?
Having the correct optimization of launching, or do you think you need to put more weight on actually having a unique product from the very beginning?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, that's a really good question. If you pick the wrong product and you optimize it, just as as well as possible, as well as you possibly could. It's like the best optimized product as possible. But it's a bad product in the end, meaning it's not getting the sales that you want, or the sales just aren't good. Then it's not going to do what you want it to do, right? So if I source, like, I'm trying to think of a very specific thing. If I source a 1 inch by 1 inch carpet square on Amazon, okay? That product's not going to do very well. I don't even know the numbers without looking at it right now, but I can take the best photos and the best listing optimization, but it's a 1 inch by 1 inch carpet square that I'm trying to private label on Amazon. Like, people probably aren't buying 1 by 1, 1 inch by 1 inch carpet squares on Amazon. But if I find a product that's set up for success from the very beginning, that determines the rest of whatever happens. Like, you optimize it as well as you can, as best you can, then you will succeed, because you know the data that's backing it up. You know the data surrounding it. Does that? Yeah. Okay. Coach me on that. Oh man, they're both important.
With regards to keywords, you answered the question about the plural, non-plural, but are you talking specifically about titles? Because I agree that's absolutely the most important piece of real estate, including the first, 4 to 5 words. What about back-end keywords? Do you still keyword stuff those with the plurals and non-plurals?
I would say the answer to that really is it's dependent on the volume that those keywords are pulling in. Okay, so you want the highest opportunity keywords and the highest volume keywords. You want keywords that are pulling in a lot of searches a month in your title, right? But your goal with backend, something like backend search terms, and a lot of sellers freak out about backend search terms, but they're a big deal, but they're not the biggest deal. The biggest deal is your title. But with something like your backend search terms, or even like your bullets in your description, the goal should be to find, like, hey, what are those keywords that don't have as many searches that I need to put in my title, but that are still aggregating a lot of searches a month that are important for me to put into my bullets or into my description or my backend. So in that case, I would ask the question of, well, A, what are those keywords? And B, how much traffic are they pulling in? Basically it's like a priority list of keywords, right? And backend search terms have a certain priority list in terms of volume. If they're not driving, if you find a plural form of a keyword that belongs like in a backend search term, and it has more search volume than like a singular of something, right? It's more important to pick keywords that are aggregating actual searches. So it's dependent on how many searches they're pulling in. Does that make sense? Yeah. So basically, it was similar to what was asked before. So putting a singular, if you use the plural form, like coffee mugs, in something like the backend or your title, it all boils down to keyword ranking for that keyword or those keywords that are trying to be represented, right? Amazon says not to worry about singular versus plural, but we see clear differences between targeting both. That's the data that we've aggregated from listing optimizations, from launches, and that's what we see.
Amazon's been getting a lot of negative attention for fake reviews. What do you think the future is for getting high quality reviews?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a good question. There are actually a couple changes happening right now to reviews. We're probably going to talk about this. I'll give you guys a sneak peek. We're going to talk about this on the podcast next week. But over this past month, there have been a huge negative delta of reviews that have been removed. So a lot of the top sellers in the beauty category have lost a ton of reviews over this past month. Amazon's working really hard on removing reviews right now, removing fake reviews, right? We also have seen that changes are starting to be implemented to variations on Amazon. So we're actually seeing right now, this is very early on, we're seeing it kind of just rolling out, but variations are starting to have different review counts than like the parent. So if you have 4 different colors of coffee mugs, the green coffee mug is going to have a different amount of reviews, or different reviews as a whole, than like the blue coffee mug, right? These are attempts for Amazon to kind of control what's happening in the review market. It's hard to tell. almost impossible to tell exactly what they're doing. But the data shows that they're trying to get rid of fake reviews. They're taking reviews very seriously. And they're also moving towards a model of kind of individualizing products and specific reviews. It seems to be getting more and more difficult to play the review game.
Hey Cameron, we got 2 more questions, one right there.
For OA, RA wholesale and fixing either unoptimized listings or resurrecting old listings or whatever, I have a very hard time getting my edits to like stick. So am I incredibly unlucky, or have you found that there's like a threshold for the age of the listing or the amount of reviews, or is there anything that says an edit will stick more than not?
Stick being like when you make a change and you save it, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, so
Hours later.
no, we've seen that happen. We've seen that happen with products on Amazon. Have you contacted anyone from Amazon specifically? No, okay, okay. I would. It's interesting because we do see that happen. This is kind of maybe a lame answer, but honestly, I would try to contact Amazon. In terms of pinpointing specific products that are unlucky with making changes, really, I at least we haven't really aggregated data to point to a specific reason for that yet, at least. But honestly, I would contact Amazon. We do see that Amazon sometimes doesn't like people making a lot of changes back to back to back, especially when it comes to price and or listing optimizations as well. So I would consider that, but also I would also like reach out to support, and it's going to take probably a long time to get in touch with a support person. But
All right, last question.
Yeah, in regards to what you were talking about earlier, and it kind of just got passed over, but I think it's a really good point right now. You know, you have keyword optimization that's, you know, brought into effect, and you put that in, you optimize the listings, and then you're looking for those reviews. So talk about marrying ManyChat and viral launch tools. I think that's a really interesting sector right now. I'd like to hear more about that.
yeah, that's ManyChat is like, it's crazy right now. For people who don't know, ManyChat is a Facebook Messenger bot. Okay, so let's talk about email marketing. When you send an email open rates right now are very low. Like you go back, I don't know, 5 years, 8 years, email open rates were crazy, right? Right now, people are talking, it's still very early on in its development phase, but ManyChat, people are comparing ManyChat to what email was those years ago when the open rate was just insane. Basically, if you're on Facebook, you can get a message from a messenger bot, from someone's storefront bot saying, hey, you want free products? Check this out. And it's a combination of email, kind of instant messaging with like really accurate ad retargeting, or targeting in general, right? So how people are using it on Amazon right now, Amazon sellers are basically using it to get email lists, to build email lists or lists in general to launch products to. So basically when you develop or set up a ManyChat for your Amazon product, you are able to target a large buyer base, shoot them a message and say, hey, you want this product for free? Give us your email, give us your phone number, and instantly you've built up, with a 90% open rate, you've built up this instantaneous list of buyers that you have to launch new products to promote to. It's a very interesting method of advertising. In terms of, I don't know if I necessarily understood like what viral launch is doing. Are you talking about like if we're working with ManyChat in any way, or like anything not like that?
Not necessarily, just
No.
keyword loading, and then like your next page. You're wanting to get reviews on your listings.
Right.
That's an important area for a lot of us. So just how you would marry those two together.
Yep. Really, we could do a whole presentation on ManyChat and aggregating reviews. Right now, I guess the best quick answer I could give you is that people are using it to get reviews crazy. Now, how that meshes with the changes that Amazon is making to review aggregation right now, that's the gray area, because Amazon's changing a lot. But right now, people are using it to get like thousands of reviews in a month's time. It's just crazy.
All right, guys. Hey, let's give it up for Cameron. Thank you, Cameron.